Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this match. We are in day two. We have a match between two teams who are now, I would say, getting I would say, on cruise speed, concerning the competition because they have their second match. We have a team who is in Canada, a team who is in France. So my colleague, Mr. Benoit, will be hosting this match. So I give the floor to my colleague.
Thank you very much. And once again, welcome to the two teams and hello everyone on YouTube. So the two teams today will be debating on the topic they have received 7 days in advance. The topic for today's match is that regional trade blocs provide more effective mechanisms for resolving disputes than global trade organizations. But before we go to finding out which team will defend which position, it is now time to discover a bit more about our debaters today. So perhaps starting with Mr. Hewitt, you have the floor for the introduction.
Hi, everyone. I am Tom Hewitt. I'm a second-year student at Western Law, and really looking forward to today's match and getting to discuss this really interesting topic.
Thank you very much. And also welcoming from the Catholic University of Lille, perhaps Ms. Edeline Silly. The floor is yours.
Hello, I'm Roman, and I'm in first year of law here at Lille.
Hello, thank you and welcome. Mr. Swirsky from Western Ontario University.
Hi, my name is Daniel, and I'm a first-year student here at Western in terms of law.
Thank you and welcome from Catholic University of Lille, Ms. De Munich.
Well, hello. I'm also a first-year student and a classmate of Roman. Nice to meet you.
Welcome from University of Western Ontario, completing your team, Ms. Igidi.
Good afternoon. My name is Whitney, and I am a first year at Western Law. I look forward to debating you today.
Thank you and welcome from Catholic University of Lille, completing your team, Ms. Haletskaya.
Hello, I'm Adeli, and I'm a second year of international and European law.
Thank you and welcome. So, in a short while, you will know which team will defend which position. I believe my colleague will be sharing his screen shortly. And
yes,
on that, yes, I'll have the floor.
So I will share my screen in a few seconds. You will see the traditional wheel with the name of the universities and the two possible positions for each university in favor or against. So yeah, now you should see the wheel normally. So as you can see, it's possible to be in favor, to be against for the University of Western Ontario or for Catholic University of Lille. So I click in the center and we'll know which position for this match. The team in favor will start the match. So this is University of Western Ontario will defend the position against the statement, and as a consequence it will be the Catholic University of Lille will defend the position in favor, and will be starting the match. So it means concretely the Catholic University of Lille will defend the position that regional trade blocs provide more effective mechanisms for resolving disputes than global trade organizations. On the other side, the University of Western Ontario will defend the position that regional trade blocs do not provide more effective mechanisms for resolving disputes than global trade organizations. So now you will have 5 minutes to review your notes, and in 5 minutes we'll start with the introduction by the team from Lille, from France. Okay, we start the match, so I stop sharing my screen.
Thank you very much. So starting with the position in favor for this match defended by the Catholic University of Lille, you will have for your opening statement 4 minutes. On the side of visual cues, please look at the stream from our student organizer, Ms. Alawi, who will give you a yellow card when you have 30 seconds left and a red card when your time is up. When your time is up, comfortably conclude your sentences, but it's not recommended to start a new one. Without further duration, then you have 4 minutes.
In the intricate tapestry of international trade, the question of effective dispute resolution mechanism has become increasingly significant. Two predominant models, regional trade blocs and global trade organization. Can we start again, please? Because of the light.
So we'll restart the time. Whenever you're ready, you have 4 minutes.
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you.
So.
In the intricate tapestry of international trade, the question of effective dispute resolution mechanism has become increasingly significant. Two predominant models, regional trade blocs and global trade organization, stand at the forefront of shaping how nations navigate conflicts in the realm of commerce. The dynamics of this debate delve into a spectrum of factors that extend beyond mere geographic boundaries. Regional trade blocs characterized by a grouping of neighboring countries with shared economic interests are often seen as facilitators of dispute resolution due to their proximity and inherent cultural understanding. This proximity allows for more immediate responses and nuanced solutions tailored in the specific needs and intricacies of the involved nation. The argument here is that a closer alliance fosters where dispute can be comprehensively addressed with an appreciation of the unique challenges faced by member states. Global trade organizations, exemplified by entities like the World Trade Organization, WTO, offer a broader and standardized approach to dispute resolution. The emphasis lies in creating a uniform international trade environment, promoting consistency in practice and reducing uncertainties for regional interest. Addressing a myriad of issues that might not receive adequate attention within the confines of regional bloc. At the heart of the discourse is the delicate balance between regional specificity and global consistency. The effectiveness of dispute resolution mechanism is not solely contingent on proximity of standard or standardized processes. It also hinges on the commitment of member states. The enforceability of decision and the adaptability of frameworks to the evolving landscape of international commerce. It's also, at the end of the day, guaranteeing the legal certainty for actors of trade blocs. What will the outcome be in the case of a dispute in law? Certainty is important. Tools need to be understood by all, most of all, applicable by all. As we navigate this discussion, we'll explore the multi-phase arguments surrounding regional trade blocs and global trade organizations, seeking to unravel the complexities that define their respective roles in shaping the landscape of international trade dispute resolution. So, how do regional trade blocs address the needs of member states in dispute resolution? Is the effectiveness of dispute resolution in trade linked to the type of trade agreement? So there is three main arguments that we will discuss. The proximity and cultural understanding, first of all. The regional blocs involve countries with shared geographic proximity and cultural ties, fostering better understanding and facilitating more nuanced resolution, such as European Union or ASEAN. Secondly, tailored solution. Regional organization can create dispute resolution mechanisms that specially address the unique challenges and interests of member countries, leading to more customized and effective solutions. And a quicker response times. Proximity and a smaller membership base can contribute to a faster response time in regional trade disputes compared to potentially lengthy process with global organization. Ultimately, the effectiveness of dispute resolution mechanisms depends on the specific context and the commitment of member state regional blocs and global trade organization. So, the flexibility inherent in regional alliances allows for nuanced approaches that can significantly contribute to maintaining a harmonized trading environment. It's about crafting solutions that resonate with the realities on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now for the opening statement in the against position, debate team of University of Western Ontario, you have 4 minutes.
Before I begin, am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Awesome. Sorry, could I have 1 moment just to quickly, I don't like the light. Give me a second. Hopefully that's a little bit better. There we go. Sorry about that. All right. I'm going to be starting in 3, 2, 1. Good evening to our judges and good afternoon to my colleagues at the Université Catholique de Lille. On behalf of myself and my teammates, Whitney and Tom, we are pleased to be here today discussing this topic with you. Today, my team and I will be arguing that regional trade blocs do not provide more effective mechanisms for resolving disputes than global trade organizations. We will forward 4 main arguments throughout this debate. I'll first argue that global trade organization dispute mechanisms are better at dealing with cases involving 2 parties with an asymmetry of power than regional trade blocs. Secondly, I'll argue that trade organizations, global trade organizations, dispute mechanisms have greater global coverage than regional trade blocs. My colleagues Whitney will then argue about the reliability of global trade organizations over regional trade blocs, and my colleague Tom will finally argue that global trade organizations are more effective at enforcing rulings than regional trade blocs. Before I present our arguments, however, it is important to define some of the key terms of this debate topic. A regional trade bloc is a pact between nearby countries to reduce trade barriers among themselves and often coordinate external policies such as United States, Mexico, Canada agreement. Global trade organizations are entities that oversee and facilitate international trade agreements and regulations among nations, such as the most prominent one being the World Trade Organization. In the Professor Sivan Shlomo Agon of the Bar-Ilan University book, on the effectiveness of the World Trade Organization dispute mechanisms, the professor clarified that effectiveness can be examined through many lenses, promoting the positive and prompt settlement of disputes, preventing unilateral actions, leveling the playing field between states, and legitimizing the authority of the dispute mechanism. So these are all ways that we could assess effectiveness in this debate. Now moving on to my first argument about power disparities. The first premise is that regional trade bloc dispute mechanisms are often designed in a manner that is unfavorable to smaller countries. According to a comprehensive study conducted by former George Washington University professor James McCall Smith on 60 regional trade pacts, the institutional preferences of larger countries prevail in negotiation dispute mechanisms. In pacts with large power asymmetries, there is less legalism in the mechanisms, whether it be in terms of access to a third-party review and third-party judges. In comparison to a more legitimate and long-standing World Trade Organization, which my colleagues will further elaborate on, there are significantly fewer cases of recorded disputes solved by trade blocs as opposed to the WTO. The second premise is that dispute mechanism settlements proceedings in the WTO provide an opportunity to form broader alliances and mobilize third-party support, which helps reduce power disparities. Airing a dispute at the WTO entails greater reputational costs. Moreover, given the global precedents the WTO produces, unlike regional trade blocs, third parties have a genuine interest in the results. For example, in the WTO case, European Community's regime for the importation, sale, and distribution of bananas, Ecuador, Guatemala, Mexico, and the United States challenged the European Community's banana import regime that showed preferential treatment to certain regions. The WTO ultimately ruled in favor of the complainants, and the parties ended up finding a mutually agreed upon solution. Effectiveness hinges on inclusiveness, so we need these remedies. The second argument I'll forward is on coverage. The World Trade Organization has more coverage than the Regional Trade Organization in terms of states and terms. With respect to states, the WTO jurisdiction applies to 164 member signatories, Meanwhile, in terms of regions, there's many cases that go unaddressed. In fact, 80% of cases that involve states in the WTO are with ones that are not in any trade agreement, which means there's more broad coverage. For all these reasons, we are very proud to propose this topic.
Thank you very much. This now marks the end of opening statements for both teams. Proceeding with the position in favor for the first rebuttal, debate team of Catholic University of Lille, you have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you for what you just said. However, I would like to come back to certain points, especially when you talked about how the YDO, for example, is a very clear legal point of view, I know, but you have to also understand that there is those minor states that are only approachable via this regional trade blocks view. Regional trade blocks offer several advantages for resolving trade disputes. Primarily, they often have more efficient dispute resolution mechanisms than larger organizations like the WTO. For instance, the EU Tribunal resolved trade disputes quickly and effectively, as seen in the EU versus Google case in 2017, where Google was fined 2.32 billion euros for violating EU's antitrust rules. Similarly, under NAFTA, a panel promptly ruled on the tariff disputes between the United States and Canada, ensuring a fair resolution. Furthermore, the harmonization of standards and regulations within regional trade blocks. Sorry for the light. Can we restart? Sorry, it was kind of messy.
There will be 50 seconds left for your timer. Please restart from the second sentence ago.
Yeah, thank you. It's okay? Okay, can I start? Okay, thank you. Well, the harmonization of standards and regulations within regional trade blocks streamlines dispute resolutions. All EU members, for example, adhere to a common set of guidelines and regulations, simplifying the dispute resolution process. Within the Mercosur trade bloc, harmonized regulation on agricultural product trade has expedited the resolution of many trade disputes. Regional trade blocs such as ASEAN have proven their ability to resolve trade disputes among members due to economic interdependence and regional synergies. This process leads to quicker and fairer dispute resolution, hence enhancing the region's economic stability. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the first rebuttal and opposition against University of Western Ontario debating, you have 2 minutes.
Hi. Visible and audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Thank you. 2, 1. I'd like to thank our friends from Lille for their opening statements. This is in some ways a highly skewed debate. The universal membership of the WTO with 164 parties suggests that countries want to and still rely on the principles of non-discrimination when resolving trade disputes. For instance, our friends have used a number of case studies of regional dispute mechanisms. But when you look at those case studies, even the parties involved voted to adopt the transparency mechanism for regional trade agreements, or RTAs, and its predecessor, Article 24 of the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade in 1949, which set out reporting procedures for RTA negotiations and their conclusions, thus actually making the process more efficient and harmonized. It is evident that parties to the WTO, including those that will be mentioned by our friends, contemplated the existence of RTAs, especially considering that RTAs existed prior to the creation of international institutions. And nevertheless, they still decided to rely on international dispute mechanisms. You see, countries want a functioning appellate body. This is evident by the voluntary creation of the temporary dispute mechanism, the multi-party interim appeal arbitration arrangement that came into creation shortly after the stop block at the WTO. Furthermore, countries have actively stated their desire for the revival of the appellate body. For example, a joint submission by Bangladesh, Egypt, India, Indonesia, and South Africa in February 2024 emphasized the importance of restoring the appellate body. While the United States wants a more flexible system, Even it calls for an international WTO dispute settlement mechanism in its July 2024 submission. While there are many scholars who echo our sentiments, I'll conclude by quoting leading international trade scholar, Professor Don McCrae from Oxford University. He states, "The current challenges do not mean that the WTO has become irrelevant. It still retains the monopoly of international trade dispute settlements, and that is unlikely to change." Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the second rebuttal in favor position, the debate team of Catholic University of Lille, you have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you very much for what you just said. First of all, I would like to go back on a few points. You raised the fact that there was a harmonization of parties within regional trade organization that existed way before the WTO did. Well, that's exactly the point. Regional trade organizations are based on preventive measures and on having a more precise and regional-based approach to the parties. It means that whenever there's something happening, whenever there's a trade agreement that's being made, they know better the regulations and the basis, legal basis in each of the countries that are being part of that trade organization. It knows the detail and they know what can be done, what cannot be done, because they have the precise knowledge of that region, and so it's easier to monitor and to have a more human-sized action. As example, the Commission trade agreements are very precise and there are clear contract and legal bases that are extremely stored with a shared competence between both the national and the EU to have measures that are clear and strong. It makes sure that the disputes are never going to reach the court. They're going to be resolved with a lot of prevention and a lot of arbitration beforehand in order to avoid the litigation that goes along with court problems. Indeed, the global trade organizations such as WTO, they often bring the cases to a court, which may result with complication due to limited access to justice, for instance, with small and medium-sized companies, such as has been seen with the African economies cases. The court may be biased and the countries and companies may not have the sufficient access to the knowledge in order to be able to resolve them. That's why regional trade organizations are better and have more powerful in resolving conflicts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the second rebuttal, the University of Western Ontario's debate team, you have 2 minutes.
And please just confirm that I'm both audible and visible.
Yes, you are.
Great, thank you so much. I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. So first off, I'd like to thank my colleagues for their arguments. However, I must respectfully disagree on a couple points. So our friends have argued that regional trading bodies provide a better mechanism for addressing disputes. And they justify this approach by arguing that regional trade blocs benefit smaller states and enhance regional stability. However, when we look at experts such as Professor Don McCrae, a leading international scholar and member of the International Law Commission, he has noted that the dispute settlement mechanisms available under regional blocs are not as comprehensive as those available under the WTO. And an excellent example of this distinction is the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, the CPTPP, which is a multifaceted trade agreement. Under Article 28 of this dispute resolution relies on the use of 3-member panels. However, this differs from the WTO dispute settlement mechanisms, which serve a quasi-constitutional role in addressing disputes. And the 1994 WTO agreement sets out in subsection 3 of section 3 that a primary function of the WTO is to administer disputes. Since this is core to the mandate of the WTO, this body is better positioned to address dispute resolution, and in doing so provides enhanced stability and certainty for its members. This is further supported by the appellate body created under Article 17 of the Understanding on Rules and Procedures Governing the Settlement of Disputes. This contrasts with the CPTPP, which lacks a similar appeals mechanism. And similar challenges arise in the context of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which also lacks an appellate system for Article 19 of the agreement. I'd also like to circle back to something our friends discussed when they were talking about NATO as an example of mechanisms working effectively. The need for more robust mechanisms to enforce regional agreements is actually evidenced by Canada's issues with softwood lumber under Chapter 19 of NAFTA, which has since been included in Chapter 10 of the CUSMA the Canada-US-Mexico Agreement. Despite multiple victories at the binational panels established per these agreements, US political interests have led the country to continue to impose tariffs on imports from Canada. This demonstrates the failure of regional trade agreements, dispute resolution mechanisms to effectively enforce their decision and speaks to the need for global bodies like the WTO. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have now concluded the rebuttals. It is about time to conclude your statements, starting with the team in favor. Catholic University of Lille, you have 2 minutes for your conclusion.
Well, thank you for what you just said. However, we'd like also to come back to certain points that you said. Regarding the law mechanisms, those are still more efficient made by the regional systems also. So regional trade blocs have shown a higher efficiency in resolving trade disputes compared to global trade organizations. Their homogeneous economic and political context foster mutual understanding and dispute resolution due to shared interests. For example, in Eastern Europe and Latin America, shared histories, cultures, and economic systems significantly aid in dispute resolution, according to Alejandro Foxtel in one of his articles in The Guardian. Moreover, the lowering of tariff barriers within regional trade blocs, such as AFTA, enhances trade exchanges and diminishes conflicts over customs, duties, and trade restrictions. This fosters a predictable and business-friendly environment, aiding in more effective dispute resolution. Joining a regional trade bloc can also bolster the political and institutional stability of member countries, providing a sturdy framework for peaceful trade disputes. Regional institutions like the EU or Mercosur offer robust legal and institutional structure, contributing to these institutional structure. Prospects for regional integration seem bright, especially in East Asia, where economics are recovering quickly post-global crisis. ASEAN, a significant player in the region, contemplates expanding its integration to include countries like Australia, New Zealand, and India, according still to Alejandro Foxtel in his article in The Guardian. This potential expansion could amplify regional cooperation and create new opportunities for fair and effective resolution of trade disputes. Whatever this model chosen, it is getting harder to establish dispute mechanisms that function for all, that are unbiased, adoptable, enforceable, and taking account of political and environment, for example, indicators. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now for the concluding statement in position against, debating of University of Western Ontario, you have 2 minutes.
I'd like to thank my friends again for a wonderful debate. I want to summarize it in 3 key ideas. The first issue is on power asymmetry. We suggest that having support from third parties and having the threat of reputational damage to larger countries makes it easier to access international dispute mechanisms than regional. While we acknowledge our friend's argument on regional proximity, the study we cited demonstrates that these regional dispute mechanisms are designed to be unfair to smaller parties in the way that they're structured, lacking the required legalism to actually support them and get the rulings that they need. In terms of the second issue of coverage, although we agree with our friends that regional trade organizations have more nuance, they don't have that ability to cover all the cases. As we mentioned, 80% of cases that involve the WTO are with parties that are not involved in regional trade organizations. The case, for example, between United States and Zimbabwe will never get solved within a regional trade organization that they're not a part of if they have no free trade agreement. And so coverage is a signal of effectiveness, because only when you could actually get someone to listen to you, a body to hear you out, that's when you're able to have dispute resolution. Thirdly, in terms of enforceability, it is unclear why regional is enforceable for the reasons that we've heard from our friends. It is so flexible and localized that there is no authority that comes with it. The WTO has the backing of 162 countries, and that legitimacy means that countries need to follow the rulings and they can't just sidestep it. And in terms of dispute resolution, it is the consequence of the procedures, not of an agreement. If a free trade agreement exists and that prevents conflict from arising, that does not necessarily signal that that was a dispute resolution. The question is, when a dispute rises up, what happens? So in conclusion, while there are hundreds of WTO cases, there are very little regional dispute cases. The WTO is a shining jewel of international law, producing enforceability where there used to be none. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This marks the end of your debate and the end of the part on which you are graded, so you can relax, take a sip of water, also turn on your cameras. We'll be doing a short feedback session as is usual for our matches, and then afterwards there will be a little bit of networking opportunity at the end. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Adeline Silly. How did you find the match? Is this perhaps a topic that you already had a chance to explore somewhat during your studies?
I found the debate very interesting, and the theme, I did not really approach it. Well, I did some economics before, so I did had some basic knowledge on trade blocks, but that's pretty much all.
Thank you very much. From the team of University of Western Ontario, Mr. Svirsky, how did you find the debate? Is this perhaps a topic that you've already explored to a certain extent in your studies?
Yeah, I definitely found it very interesting. I think it's a very complex topic. I would have loved to be able to speak longer than we got to speak on it, but I think that's what makes this activity good. It's the fact that you have to summarize and be very precise. And so I have explored a little bit of this before, just on a personal, because I like to debate beyond just this competition. So I definitely didn't get explored in this much depth, so I really appreciated that.
Thank you very much. From Catholic University of Lille, Ms. Demjong, how did you find the debate? Did the other team perhaps present arguments that your team also prepared for the other position?
Well, yeah, the debate was delightful. It was a really good time to share with you guys. And yeah, I think that some of the arguments that you presented, we thought about it too. So it was kind of funny to share everything. So thank you.
Thank you very much. From the University of Western Ontario, Ms. Gidi, how did you find the debate? Did you also perhaps hear some arguments that your team too prepared for the other side?
I found the debate really engaging and very interesting. There is a ton of case law and international law on this topic, so I quite enjoyed informing myself more. In terms of our preparation, there were a couple of arguments that we had also thought of that our colleagues articulated very, very well. So, and then there were that they presented in a different way than we had thought of too. So it was quite engaging.
Thank you very much. From Lille, Ms. Haletskaya, how did you find the debate? Is there anything you would like to share with the other team on how it was interacting during the debate, perhaps?
I really enjoy the debate because in second year in international law, we see a kind of like the dispute of different blocks. And to debate with you, it gives me a lot of perspective in other opinion and other subjects in that with a different manner to approach this subject. And it's really interesting to see the different point of view. And I really enjoyed, and thank you so much for this experience.
Thank you very much. And from Canada, Mr. Hewitt, how did you find the debate? Is there perhaps something you would like to share with the other team on how it was interacting during rebuttals, perhaps?
Sure. So I thought it was a really great experience. It was really interesting to sort of exchange ideas and go back and forth. I felt like both teams were really sort of bringing their A game and really presenting some very interesting and compelling arguments. So it was really engaging to do that and participate. And I'm very glad that we had this opportunity and really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. That is the part for the feedback from the students, as we have also one of the coaches for the teams present on the call, Professor Stavelt. Is there anything you would like to share with the teams? What were your impressions of the match?
I thought this was an excellent match, so congratulations to both sides. I thought that both of you did very, very well. It was interesting and obviously always very timely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now for the final part of the match, for the networking, I will pass the floor to our student organizer for this match, Ms. Alawi. The floor is yours.
Just before I begin, can everyone hear me and see me? Yeah? Okay, perfect. Well, congrats on an amazing match, guys. This was a very nice match to watch, and it was very educational, and the way that you guys presented was, as a non-debater, my aspiration. So good job. So I've got a few questions that can get you guys to talk within each other and discover some things about Lille and Western Ontario. So first of all, let's see. Catholic University of Lille. How would you guys describe the student life in Lille?
So Lille is really a known city for students because we have a lot of night life here and a lot of opportunity to get in touch with every university here because Lille is the center is kind of small. So like we know which university will do the party where and everything. So we can really have a great experience. We have a lot of bars, a lot of restaurants, a lot of opportunities to eat good and to drink well. So yeah, it is really great. And we are approached to Brussels. So it's really nice if we were in Amsterdam. So it's really nice if we want to travel.
Very nice, very nice. So it seems like you're a community. And how about Mr. Hewitt? Would you say it's the same type of atmosphere in Ontario, or would it be different?
I'd say there's a lot of I would say, yeah, there's a lot of similarities. So Western is often known as what we call a university town. So a lot of it's in the center of the city or close to the center of the city. There's a lot of sort of things surrounding it. So I think it's a great atmosphere. It's a really friendly campus. I believe we have 40 to 50,000 students. So it's a very big student body, which is really exciting and really dynamic. But the actual city of London is about 400,000 or 500,000 people. So it's I'd say a fairly big city in terms of Canadian standards, but it's definitely a very enjoyable and great place to sort of be for a law degree.
Well, it sounds like you guys got a few similarities between yourselves while still retaining the uniqueness of each country. How about this? Would anyone from the Catholic University of Lille like to explain how to become a lawyer in France? How the procedures are, what would you go through to become one? Regarding licensing, board examination?
So to become a lawyer, when we do law, it's not necessary to become a lawyer, but we can do concours like to be a lawyer, and we need to. Yes, but I don't know comment c'est.
Well, in French we say le barreau, but
yes, it's a bar. And after 5 years, when we did like the LLM and the master degrees, we can go to the exam with bar law. It's not necessary to have a master, but it's recommended to have more knowledge. And after we go to the école
it's like
law school
but only if you want to become a lawyer, and it's
for beginning lawyers, and after they have an internship with a lawyer to graduate.
Yeah, kind of complicated.
Well, it sounds like a very complicated procedure, but I know that the Canadian system might also have its own complications. So would Mr. Spursky like to enlighten us on how the Canadian process is into becoming a lawyer?
Yeah, so we have our undergraduate degree, which is 4 years. And after that, you go in to apply to law school, which is an additional 3 years after that. And after that process, you go to either a firm or you go somewhere else, and then you kind of have this like transitional year. And then you write the bar, which is an examination in order to become a lawyer and to be certified by the professional organization that kind of governs lawyers in Ontario and in Canada. So that's kind of a process. It's kind of long, lots of tests, but yeah.
That's very interesting. It's similar, I'm thinking, to the US system. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, final question. Let's change it up a little bit. France. What is a common stereotype about French people or the French culture that you think is not true?
Like we're real people, that we're always angry, that we always bring our baguettes with us.
Oh yeah, that one. And the beret
That we say
thing.
we baguette every time. That like, yeah, that we always wear a beret and everything. That oh, with the marinière, of course, like it's t-shirt here, common in France, and yeah, that we're always drink wine, always have our bread with us. Those are common stereotypes that we have here in France. Some of them are kind of true,
I would
but
say the bread thing is
yeah,
true.
the bread tree, yeah, we always have our baguette. I'm not happy when I don't have my baguette, my biscuit,
Yeah,
for example. I
that's
need
important.
it.
That's
It's really important for us.
Okay, who did I not ask from the Canadian team? Can Miss Igidi tell us about some common Canadian stereotypes that you might not think are necessarily true?
Sure, that's a good question. I would say one common stereotype is that we say A-E-H after every sentence, that we love hockey, that we're over polite, especially being the little brother of the United States, that we love poutine. Speaking for myself, I would say a lot of those are true. Maybe with the exception of the A part, just considering that in Canada, you'll find there are a lot of regional accents and dialects as well. So it really just depends on where you are in Canada.
That's very interesting. Good to know for you guys in the future in case you ever want to visit any of the countries such as France or Canada. It's good to know about the stereotypes and just the culture and how the people around perceive it. One final thing, I would like to thank you guys again for your exceptional work and exceptional speaking skills in the debate. And just a note that this is always an opportunity to network between you guys in case that to remain in contact for the future. You never know when someone's going to need French law assistance or international Canadian law assistance, and it's just nice to remain in contact after the debate. And you never know what opportunities might arise from being in contact. Thank you.
So well done, everyone. And also thank you to our student organizer, Ms. Alawi. As always, the judges have now 2 business days to review your match. As they were not present on the call right now, maybe they watch already on YouTube. So feel free to relax. Once the organizing teams receive the scores, we'll validate them and we'll send you the scorecards immediately after, and also share the results on the social media for your match. And once again, I would like to concur what was already said. Really good job on the match. You really should be proud of yourself. So well done on the research and on the argument presented. And wishing you all the best for the next steps.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congrats. Thank you.